We are live on KEXP at home. My name is Greg Vandy, host of the Roadhouse radio show, heard every Wednesday night here on KEXP, and I'm very happy to be joined by Courtney Mary Andrews, one of my favorite artists, who has a brand new record out now on Fat Possum Records called Old Flowers. It's wonderful. It's a top 10 record of the year. It's a real breakup record. It's fantastic, and Courtney is here now from her home in Nashville. Hi, Courtney. Good to have you
Hi.
on board.
Hi, it's great to be here. Great to see you, Greg.
Good to see you again. It's been a minute.
I know, it has been a minute.
I think the last time we saw each other was at Pickathon a couple years ago.
That's right. I love that festival. So it's so good to see you there when we return. So
yeah. Now, you recorded these songs at the Almanack Colony in Nantucket, a wonderful, beautiful place and organization. It was part of a songwriters colony. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing there and how you came to record these songs for us.
Yeah, it's a great writing residency program. They put artists up, and I originally went there to finish a book that I'm working on, and then stayed for this songwriters colony. We all got tested and had some beautiful spaces to write and make music in, and so we recorded it in the barn on the property.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It sounds beautiful. Let's see how beautiful it is right now, and maybe introduce this first song, which is called Break the Spell from the new album.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
In your magic ways, your magic charms, always begging me to stay. Why do I believe each and every trick you have hiding up your sleeve? Please break the spell. Please break the spell. Yes, I am hypnotized. Tonight you say you want me, tomorrow change your mind. No, the distance does not help when magic rings through satellites to the phone in this hotel. Please break the spell. Please break the spell. Please break the spell. Please break the spell. You tell me that you're crazy, but that is no excuse to trick me with magic and make make me think it's you. Please break the spell. Please break the spell.
I love that song.
Thank
Break the
you.
Spell is from the new album from Courtney Marie Andrews called Old Flowers. You know, I heard the full album in its entirety last night. You know, these days records, they kind of trickle out. The singles come out many months before the album. I finally heard the whole album, and that was the song that really stood out to me last night. I love that one.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us about what the spell is.
I think obviously it's love spell in a big way. And it's also, I think when a relationship ends, you find ways to try and hold on to it and keep it. And I think that's the spell too. Sort of, a darker term is manipulation, I guess. But I think it's the spell is a kind of more whimsical way of saying it.
Yeah. You said this is my story of the most heartbreaking but soul-revealing year of my life, which was 2019. And you wrote all these songs based on a breakup.
I did, yeah.
Tell us a bit more.
Well, I'd been with the same person for 9 years of my adult life. And so a lot of last year was the first year I'd ever spent alone. Had my own place, for the first time in my adult life. And
So from the ages of 19 to 29, basically, 19 to 28.
19 to 28, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was just a lot of change. I moved, from Seattle to Nashville, and I was just transitioning a lot. And so a lot of the songs came in sort of these kind of fits of inspiration where I was trying to just, not even trying to, but just needed, I guess, personally to process everything that was happening and changing. So.
Yeah, you also changed bands. You got a new band, and you got a new label too. So
it's
basically,
all new. It's all
basically everything changed. Basically,
yeah. It's been a lot of changes. So yeah, the record sort of served me personally for that, to be able to sort of process a lot of those things.
and when you wrote the record, you said you wrote them in basically different towns. As long as I've known you, you've really moved around a lot. You've really sort of taken to uprooting and moving and being on the road and sort of, I think, enjoying that to a degree. And you said that you wrote these songs in Benzvi, Arizona,
Yeah.
also in Nashville, where you live now, also in London and Portugal. Tell us about why you were getting around so much. Were you on tour? And tell us about how the songs came to you wherever you were in these places.
Yeah, I write so fluently, and when I'm traveling and when I'm inspired by new places, and I don't know why that is. I have a lot more fluid of a writing process when I'm on the road. But I went to Portugal after I was writing for another person's record, and I've been doing some of that recently. And I was writing for another person's record in London, and then I decided to extend the trip because they had already flown me out there to Portugal, and just spent 2 weeks in Lisbon and wrote Break the Spell there, and wrote a bunch of songs. How You Get Hurt I wrote there, and yeah, it just served as I guess my sort of mini soul journey in a way. And also I needed to step away from a place where nobody knew me, and I didn't have any friends I needed to catch up with. I just needed like a moment to process, and I think that's why I was there in a lot of these places.
Yeah, you're a bit of a rare bird in the fact that you have traveled alone really at a young age. Last time you were on my show in 2016 after Honest Life came out.
Mhm.
And we talked then about your sort of being able to be a young woman traveling alone, touring by yourself, playing solo shows all across the country at like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, I feel like I can tap into sort of things around me and observe more when I'm traveling alone. I definitely, as I've grown older, like I do like the sort of mix to have friends accompany me more often now these days. But there is like this really beautiful thing that happens as a writer when you travel alone, and I feel like you're able to just sort of see things clearer in this way and write more efficiently. So
Let's talk about the Dead Owl story.
yes.
When you were at your mother's house in Arizona with your ex, who this record is a lot about the breakup and your ex, and on New Year's Day, a great horned owl dropped dead right in front of you.
Yeah, right in our backyard. In Arizona, you know, there's lots of rock lawns, and I was standing with my ex in the rock lawn, the back lawn, and it was New Year's Day. It's like the morning, and he was smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden, a perfectly formed great horned owl dropped dead right in front of us, and it was obviously very shocking. We were perplexed, and also like felt like such a great and mysterious and kind of daunting symbolism to sort of carry throughout the year, especially because our anniversary is New Year's Day as well. And so it's just like this really strange, I don't know, occurrence that felt very symbolic of the end. Yeah, in some ways.
So it was a bit of an omen.
It felt like that. It really did. And yeah, I mean, we both read into it a lot. I think anybody would if that happens.
And then a year later, you did break up, and then hence the writing of this record.
Yeah, we broke up on New Year's Day too, which is
Yeah.
also, some strange voodoo happening.
Is it weird to talk about this with interviewers like me? Like this, you do a lot of press, and like you have to rehash this story. And I'm assuming later in life, because the record's so good, you'll be playing these songs for the rest of your life. Do you think the songs will always bring you back to this point in 2019, this rough year for you, or will the songs morph and become their own things in 30 years from now when you're playing your tours?
The writing of this record is very memorable for me because it marked such a transitional period in my life that I think I will always personally associate it with 2019. As far as the conversational aspect of it, it's funny. I was talking to a UK journalist maybe a month or two ago, and they're like, I don't know what to ask you without it being like a therapy session. And I was like, yeah, you're right. This is kind of funny. So yeah, it's I do feel that it does mark a very direct point in my life for sure. Yeah.
Let's hear two more songs. These are I guess you'd call them the singles off of the new record. The first song is going to be called If I Told, and the second one is It Must Be Someone Else's Fault. Two fantastic songs. Do you want to set them up, and then we'll play your recordings of them?
Yeah. Well, first, I guess I should say that the people singing with me are two amazing songwriters in their own right, Liz Cooper and Molly Sarle. And so, yeah, I guess that's how I should set it up.
Yeah, Molly of the Mountain Men, who I actually saw at Pickathon the same year. I think I saw you there as well. And then Liz Cooper in the Stampede, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, beautiful writers and singers. So
love them.
Grateful they're in my band on these songs. So
great. Well, let's hear it. This one's called If I Told by Courtney Marie Andrews.
It's a former LA, and we're alone for the first time on Venice Beach, under the palm trees Tell me your dreams, and I'll tell you mine. What would you say if I told you you're my last thought at the end of each night? Would you believe me, or would you even reply? Would you, would you, would you, would you? I am a loner, I am stubborn. Can you handle this world I live in? I know I can't change, but for you I'd compromise. I'd be on your side if you'd be on mine. Yes, you're anxious and you're stubborn too, but I'd learn to love the worst parts of you. Could be the full moon or this cheap wine, but I'm hoping that you'll reply. Would you, would you, would you, would you? Is it in the stars or some age-old truth? Why did the universe draw me to you? You're so magnetic, I'm hypnotized. Feels like I've known you since before this life. I hope I always see you this way. Here's to wondering if you feel the same, but I can tell when your eyes meet mine that the truth is in your reply. You do, you do, you do. You do. Hollywood and Vine, passing through your neighborhood. Had a feeling I should stop by, feed you a line from some old romance book. Ah, it's been years since we talked. Does that rock band of yours still play? Or have you grown apart like we did? How did we ever go our separate ways? Oh, but it must be someone else's fault. Must be someone else's heart who tainted mine. Oh, can I be to blame for the story of this pain? Or it must be someone else's fault. Feels like I've gone crazy, like the women in my family usually do. We can't seem to keep our heads on long enough to make it through. Ah, but I'm still sensitive and stubborn, still cry more than a person should. But it's this feeling inside that's changed. Like I've gone bad, but the world is good. Oh, but it must be someone else's fault. Must be someone else's heart who tainted mine. Oh, can I be to blame for the story of this pain? Or it must be someone else's fault. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, but it must be someone else's fault. Must be someone else's heart who tainted mine. No, I cannot be to blame for the story of this pain. Oh, it must be someone else's fault.
All right, Courtney Marie Andrews. That was recorded at the Almanack Arts Colony in Nantucket, a beautiful location. Courtney was there for a residency, a songwriter residency, and it just looked gorgeous right there. And a beautiful song, one of many great songs from the new record called Old Flowers. It's on Fat Possum Records. Courtney, tell me a little bit more about that song, It Must Be Someone Else's Fault.
Yeah, I think that's a song sort of about taking ownership of your own pain. And it's around that time I'd sort of learned that ancestral DNA is real and that we sort of inherit our ancestors' trauma. And I think it's a lot of it's just about, it's a satirical song, really. Like, it must be someone else's fault. It must not be my own story or my own choices that make up these things, you know. And I think I tried to sing it in a way to show that it is a sad, sort of sad, satirical, that it isn't, you know, it is taking ownership of your own story and pain and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, it's a real breakup record, and the many of the songs are just pretty amazing, and the stories behind them are yet even more amazing. The song Carnival Dream is also on the album, and it's about an actual dream you had, which really blows my mind. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, and I just have to say, prior to this story, I feel like I never, you know, people talk about ghost stories or these crazy, you know, superstitious occurrences, and I'd never really had anything like that to sort of share around the campfire. But this story is really, really, truly one of those stories, and that's that I woke up in the middle of the night, maybe 2 months after my breakup, from essentially a nightmare where I was searching for my ex at a carnival, and woke up in the middle of the night, went to my piano, this piano actually right here, and wrote the song. Next day, we caught up for the first time in 2 months since everything had happened, and he said the hardest part about our, you know, at the end of catching up and everything, you know, after a drink or two, it was like, the hardest part about this sort of breakup has been that I have this reoccurring nightmare where I search for you every night at a carnival, but I can't find you. And so we'd been having the same dream which is so eerie and also just a sign that humans are so connected in ways that we don't even really understand yet.
Yeah, you said we talk in our dreams. Humans are connected in unexplainable ways.
They really are. Yeah, I really believe that, especially after that, obviously.
Yeah. You also said ending love is not a failure, but more of a transition. I really love that. Like, as a woman of 29 years old, it certainly is a new beginning for you, and not necessarily a failure, where a lot of people sort of look at it that way when something that they cherish ends.
Yeah. Yeah, I've learned that strangely. I learned that when I was a teenager from a Jack Gilbert poem, and I never was able to really apply it until, recently and with this relationship. And I think he says in the poem that love can be something that's looked at as a triumph, that we really, can over. It's something, we did it, maybe it's done, but we did something beautiful for a moment. And I think that's a much healthier way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of breakup albums, which I love a good breakup album, what are some of your favorite breakup albums or songs?
Man, there's so many good ones. Obviously, I kind of go straight for the classics. Recently, my favorite breakup album is Frank Sinatra and the Wee Small Hours of the Morning. But, I guess my longtime favorites are, of course, the classics, Blood on the Tracks, Bob Dylan. Neil Young, Harvest Moon is kind of a divorce record a little bit, or at least alludes to that. Joni Mitchell, Blues, great breakup record. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll throw in there White Cloud, All Cried Out, which is, if you jot that down, that's going to be the most devastating breakup song you ever heard. Check that one out, White Cloud. Speaking of Harvest Moon by Neil Young, you decided to do a song from that great album, I think from 94, right?
Yeah.
And let's hear that one now. Do you want to set up the song in any way? Like, how'd you choose to do this one off of Neil's album?
Well, this is probably my favorite Neil Young record. That the song's on, Harvest Moon, but I chose the song because I feel like it's very suited to the year that we're living in. The lyrics really resonate with me right now, and also just such a beautiful sentiment to friends and people that you love, to hope to see them again.
Yeah, this is One of These Days by Courtney Mary Andrews.
One of these days, I'm gonna sit down and write a long letter to all the good friends I've known. Now I'm gonna thank them all for the good times together, though so apart we've grown. One of these days, I'm gonna sit down and write a long letter to all the good friends I've known. One of these days, one of these days, one of these days, and it won't be long, won't be long. I'm gonna thank that old country fiddler and all those rough boys who play that rock and roll. Well, I've never tried to burn any bridges, though I know I let some good things go. these days, I'm gonna sit down and write a long letter to all the good friends I've known. One of these days, one of these days, one of these days, and it won't be long, won't be long. From down in LA all the way to Nashville, from New York City to my Canadian prairie home, my friends are scattered like leaves from an old maple. Some are weak and some are strong. One of these days, I'm gonna sit down and write a long letter to all the good friends I've known. One of these days, one of these days, one of these days, and it won't be long, won't be long. One of these days, one of these days, one of these days, and it won't be long, won't be long.
All right, very, very nice. I love that song too. What a great one.
It's a beautiful
That was
song.
Courtney. Yes, that was Courtney at the Almanack Arts Colony in Nantucket last month. She was there as a songwriter residency sort of thing. Also, you've been writing as well, Courtney, and you have a new book of poetry. Is that right?
I do. It hasn't been announced yet, but I've finished it and hopefully will be out and announced sometime soon.
Cool. So you've been doing that with your spare time, living alone in Nashville. You're either creating, writing songs, writing poetry, or watching Netflix, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to, stay creative, at least stay on some sort of a creative schedule in some ways. So, yeah,
Sounds cool.
it's been great.
Yeah, besides Neil Young, I know you also you're a fan of John Prine, who we just lost recently in 2020. 2020's been some
Yeah.
kind of year, but John Prine did pass. You got to actually meet him, get to know him, and play with him a bit. But I did see you on, I think, on the Tiny Desk concert series. You did one of my favorite John Prine songs, which is the Speed of the Sound of Loneliness from John Prine. Tell us why you picked to do that song, and tell us a bit more about John Prine and what was he like and how cool was it to play with him?
Oh man. Well, last year I was so honored and grateful to be able to open some shows for him, and I, played his festival in Punta Cana in November of last year, and he was having all his duets come and rehearse with him. And at rehearsal, I said, I just moved to Nashville recently, and he goes, "Oh, I'm playing at the Grand Ole Opry on New Year's Eve. You should come sing with me." And so,
Just like that.
actually, the New Year's of this year was my Grand Ole Opry debut with John Prine singing "You've Got Gold," and it's just a testament. He really is just such a kind human, and his whole team, his whole family really resonates that sentiment, and I can't say enough how grateful I am and to have been able to sing with him and meet and get to know him a little bit. But The Speed of the Sound of Loneliness, I chose that song. The first version I actually heard was by Nancy Griffith, and there's just something so beautiful, and it's like a perfectly eloquent way of saying it's sort of that the humaneness that John really perpetuates in a song that is so relatable. And I think that comes across in this song. It's such a sentimental, beautiful song. So.
What albums have you been checking out? What have you been listening to lately? New records or old records?
Let's see. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of Warren Zevon. I've been listening to a lot of Hawaiian slack key guitar. I've been listening to a lot of Annie Lennox. I'm really all over the place this year. A lot of jazz, a lot of Billie Holiday. New records. I really love the new Christian Lee Hutchinson record. I think that's a beautiful record. If you haven't checked it out, I think he's such a great writer. There's been so much good music out this year. The new Fiona Apple record I really love as well. So
yeah, it has been a very good year. And your record is definitely right up there with the top records of the year for sure. It's called Old Flowers. It's on Fat Possum Records. It's a breakup record. It's a perfect record for this time of the year, the changing of the season, going into the fall and winter. I think it's going to be a good Saturday morning listening for a lot of people. Do you want to? There's one more song that you did up there at the Almanack. It's called Ships in the Night. It's the last song on the album. Can you introduce this one for us?
Yeah. This is Ships in the Night. I feel like it's kind of the ideal closing song because it's sort of a farewell type song. So, yeah.
Here it is.
I am sending you a postcard from the United States with words on the back never got a chance to say. When it soars across that pond and reaches your house, may it leave you with closure and a little less doubt. Hope you eased up on the drinking. Hope you laugh, hope you care. Hope your days are even better than the ones that we shared. And I hope that you find love, settle down somewhere soon. And I hope that this world sees who I see in you. I know you tried to reach me, know you tried. I know we felt the same way, but the timing wasn't right. Ships in the night, ships in the night. Since the last time I saw you, well, I've seen better days. The person that I used to be seems so far away, and she's not traveling down God's highway in books or melodies, but maybe in these words is where you find me. I know you tried to reach me, know you tried. I know we felt the same way, but the timing wasn't right. Ships in the night, ships in the night. Ships in the night, ships in the night. From this Arizona desert to your cold and shores. I'm sending you my love, nothing more. I'm sending you my love and nothing more.
What a beautiful farewell song for a long-term relationship. That is just fantastic.
Thank you so much, Greg.
It's a fantastic record. I really want to congratulate you. You've really been putting out one great record after another. And it's been, I guess, 4 years since you were in this studio right here with me with a Band-Aid on your knee. Back after Honest Life, which was, I think, probably your breakthrough record, I think it's safe to call.
It really was. And actually, that session with you is sort of what like started, I feel like, everything. So it's great.
Wow.
Great to be virtually back.
Yeah, well, I think you're still going to be one of ours. You know, you've moved away and you're in Nashville, but I know you're going to come back and you're always traveling. So we'll see you sometime soon. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today here live on KEXP.
I'm very happy to have been on the show today. Thank you, Greg.
Okay. We'll see you down the road. This is Courtney Marie Andrews. The album is fantastic. It's called Old Flowers. It's on Fat Possum Records. And someday we'll all be touring again and out there to see audiences again and seeing shows. So until then, Courtney, hang tough and we'll see you.
Great. I'm looking forward to it. Take care, Greg.
This is KEXP, where the music matters.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.